Senate Minority Leader Tim Canoe, the Republican from Bend, is leading the Senate walkout. I spoke with him earlier this week. Senator Canoe, welcome to Eye on Northwest Politics.
Thank you, Ken. Good to be with you.
Why did this walkout start on May 3rd?
Well, the big issue on May 3rd was the revelation that the Senate had been not following its rules and not following the law as it relates to the readability factor of summaries that are on legislation. And we've been stressing this whole session about process, and we've been lodging complaints about violation of process and due process, and we just had enough of it at that point, and we challenged the Senate president on this issue, and he wanted to dismiss it and then simply say, we're going to follow the rules we want to follow and the laws we want to follow because we have the votes, and we just didn't think that was appropriate. And we would say that we're here to represent our constituents, and we took an oath of office to uphold the Constitution. And when you are willfully violating Senate rule and state law as it relates to that, we think, in fact, that that causes us a problem with our constitutional role. And so, that was the basis of why the walkout happened when it did.
Senator, initially you did state the boycott was because of the bills you object to not being written in plain English, but isn't this really an attempt to stymie the Democrat majority agenda, especially when it comes to abortion, gun control, and transgender health care?
Well, here's what I would say is the Democrats have an opportunity to be bipartisan, and they're choosing not to be. They're choosing to be extremely partisan. And there are lots of bills we don't like that we've allowed to go forward. But what we're not willing to do is to allow unlawful and unconstitutional bills to go forward. And unfortunately, some of these bills fall into that category. And so it doesn't have to be about necessarily a particular topic, but we've asked for some things to happen, and they're unwilling to do that. And so we are holding firm.
Isn't this a question of ideology in terms of what the Republicans would like to see in terms of abortion, gun control, and transgender health care, and what the Democrats want to see? Is this just a battle between Democrats and Republicans now?
Well, I think we first need to understand that independents serve in this legislature, and independents are with us, and in fact have called for a federal investigation on some of these items. And what we are pushing back on is essentially this culture, we call it a culture of corruption, where you just do what you want to do because you have the votes. And we've already had one major office holder resign because of the issues that have come up. And quite frankly, we think the story is much deeper and broader than that. And, that's the reason we pressed pause on this session.
At the time of this taping, three senators, Republicans Dennis Linthicum of Klamath Falls, Daniel Bonham of Welch's, and Independent Brian Boquist of Dallas, have now had at least 10 unexcused absences. That triggers Measure 113. Under that law, they're now barred from running for re-election. Are you going to challenge that?
Yeah, so I think there's likely a discrepancy on whether or not they can actually run. But I have no doubt that Measure 113 will be challenged, and probably on multiple fronts. And we think there's a reasonable chance that that legally will be overturned.
Isn't there an issue with just not showing up as a political tactic?
Well, if there was an issue with that, the Democrats have done it several times. The Republicans have done it several times. But here's the thing. Every other walkout has been essentially an attempt to vacate the Capitol and, get beyond the reach of the majority and the state police and their ability to essentially be brought back. That is not what is happening here. We are in the Capitol. we are working every day. We are attending committees. We are having meetings in our offices, and we're available to the public. What we are not doing is going to the half-hour floor session that we think, quite frankly, is not being held in an appropriate way. So they're trying to run bills through that don't meet a lawful test. And literally a 10-year-old can check to see if they're following the law on these bill summaries, and they're not. So I know they say if they have the votes, that makes them lawful. And we just think that that is a ridiculous interpretation of the law, and it's the tyranny of the majority, and we're just not going to let that stand.
You registered a PAC called the Oregon 113 Defense Fund. What do you hope that accomplishes?
Yeah, well, it's Oregon's 13 Constitutional Defense Fund, and we're going to defend our members in this process. And so what our members need in that process, we will provide for them. And I've committed to defending all of our members. I'm the Republican leader, and we will also defend our independent caucus members as well.
So what will it do? What are you looking for this to do, the Oregon 13 Defense Fund?
It could do any number of things. And, from support in campaigns, support against, intimidation. So there are attempts to intimidate our members, and we want to support them in every positive way possible. And in the next 3 days, 10 of our members, 10 of the 13, will be at 10 absences as per the Senate president, who is the only arbiter of absences. And so we just want to make sure that our members have the opportunity to be defended at any opportunity.
There's about a month left in this session with a lot of work to do on a number of issues, and Oregon is required to have a balanced budget. Would you agree to have the GOP return to vote on budgets if the other bills that you're concerned about are put on hold?
Ken, I already have, but it goes further than that. So we've agreed to come back before sine die, which is midnight on June 25th, to pass bipartisan budgets and bipartisan bills. We've agreed to suspend the rules and to suspend readings to make that happen. There'll be quite a few bills on the docket, and it'll be up to Democrats to determine whether or not they want a balanced budget or not before sine die happens. And, the next question that you might want to ask is, well, are you going to suspend the rules on all bills? And the answer is no.
Would you agree to sit down in a meeting with Senate President Wagner and Governor Kotek to work this out if she asked for one?
I'm always open to meeting with the governor and or the leaders of the Oregon House and Senate.
If this continues and that meeting doesn't happen before sine die, what would you do if Governor Kotek calls a special session to get this work done?
Well, the first thing we need to do is negotiate what would happen in that special session. So each special session has to be organized, and of course you need a quorum in order to organize. And the governor's well aware of that, and I'm confident that talks will resume at some point in the next 40 days, and look forward to productive conversations.
This is frustrating to a lot of voters out there when they hear about what's going on in Salem. What do you want the people of Oregon to know about this impasse and whether we can get past it?
Well, we will get past it. And I think what the public really needs to know is there's 13 people that are standing up to defend our constituents and their constitutional rights against the tyranny of the majority. And ultimately, the work of the legislature will get done. But sometimes there's drama in the meantime, and I think people are generally used to that drama in politics. And, we think it's unfortunate that we didn't cause it. The majority caused it by the reaction to whether or not they should follow the law. And unfortunately, they chose not to follow Senate rule or law. And we believe they should and that they can. And we believe ultimately that they will.
Of course, Democrats would have a different perspective on this whole situation, but thank you very much, Senator Knoop, for joining us on Eye on Northwest Politics and explaining your position.
Thank you, Ken.